Hey guys, how's it going? I'm your host, Jared Bronstein, and welcome back to LBQ. Today, we got quite an interesting question for you. What if we had to abandon Earth tomorrow? Before we jump into it, make sure to subscribe, click that bell, of course, to be notified of future videos, and give this video a thumbs up if you enjoy it. Maybe share it with a friend even. I'll be replying to some comments from another video at the end of this one, and as I always encourage, make sure to drop us some comments below with questions you'd want to see on this channel. So what would really happen if we all had to abandon Earth tomorrow? Well, I think it goes without saying a lot of us would die. What else is new, right? Welcome to LBQ. But it's so much deeper than that, to be honest. Of course, one of the most important factors here is why we'd have to abandon Earth in the first place. A zombie apocalypse would be much different from, let's say, an asteroid destroying mankind as we know it. But as a generalization, regardless of the reasoning, if we could no longer stay on planet Earth, what would happen? Well, for starters, immediate panic would set in for most. People, myself included, would be freaking out that the end of the world is literally 24 hours away, or less. This would cause people to act in very uncertain ways. Some may decide they didn't want to wait for their inevitable death and just do the deed themselves. Others may accept their fate, get together with their friends and family, and just wait for the demise of the world. But then you got the hopeful. The ones that somehow, someway, will make sure they will safely get off of the planet with their loved ones, including the dog. Can never forget about your dog. As I describe this scenario, I can't help but think of Tom Cruise playing this guy. Anyway, this would cause a very dangerous mentality among our society. Hordes of people will be trying to find escape routes, but the bigger question is, where would they go? Maybe some would go to NASA and try to get their way onto one of their spacecrafts. Or some would just board airplanes, hoping that they could stay airborne for however long the plane allows them to. But then what? It seems logic wouldn't really control us, as we'd be basing our decisions on emotions, fear of the uncertainty. But how would certain countries react? Would it be every man for themselves, or would there be some sort of order? Would the military be called in across the country to control the people, or would they too try to find ways to escape? Knowing their death is inevitable, I feel some would abandon their orders and do what they feel is best for them, while others would stay put and die knowing they did what they were asked to by their commanding officer. Obviously, some people would be able to escape. NASA isn't the only government organization that has capabilities to send people to space. Russia and China also have space agencies that are capable of doing this, and that's what's currently known to the public. In a situation where we'd have to evacuate Earth, I'm sure other government agencies would come forward with prototypes they've been working on and give it a shot, knowing the only other option is to perish here on Earth. Now, it's not like anyone could just get into a spacecraft and take off. There would have to be willing participants helping with the launch and staying on Earth. You'd also need a flight engineer to man the craft. As you can see, there are tons of variables here. For the average person like you or I to get on a spacecraft, well, unfortunately it seems like it may be impossible. But would that be the only solution? As previously mentioned, it depends on the reasoning for the evacuation. If it was a zombie apocalypse, maybe you could just live out in the ocean or on a remote island and you wouldn't have to necessarily abandon Earth. If it was an asteroid of sorts that would hit the Earth, maybe we'd be able to survive by getting into spacecrafts, helicopters, airplanes, jets, and just fly as high as we possibly can while the Earth gets destroyed. And then we come back down when all is said and done. Again, a very unlikely scenario, but it'd be better than just accepting the fact that we're going to die. Ultimately, it seems like most of us unfortunately wouldn't make it beyond whatever impending catastrophic event we'd be bracing for. But what about those that do? Let's say somehow, someway, you were one of the lucky ones that got a seat on a spacecraft. You successfully made it off of our doomed planet. Now what? You're in space with strangers, or possibly even some people you know, if you were fortunate enough to be saved with friends or family, and Earth is no longer an option. Would you be confined to that spacecraft the rest of your life? We can't breathe in space. Would you try to inhabit a new planet? Maybe Mars? It seems like a great idea, but to completely colonize an entire planet is quite a hard task. And aside from that, we need to look at the pros and cons of each planet. First, let's look at Mars. It's not too hot to live on, and there is water, but there's also no magnetic field to protect us against radiation. And there are insanely vicious dust storms that could last months. Of course, the temperature is also below freezing, and then the fact that it's mostly carbon dioxide and the gravity there is 38%. So maybe Mars is a no-go. So where would we go? Well, there are two very intriguing planets, Kepler-62e and Kepler-62f. They're believed to be about half the size of Earth and possibly covered by oceans with humid, cloudy skies. This may be your best possible bet if you were lucky enough to somehow escape our doomed planet. But the only issue here, aside from the fact that there isn't nearly enough research done on these planets, they're about 1,200 light years away in the northern constellation Lyra. So aside from the fact that your spacecraft would run out of fuel way before you came even remotely close, you'd definitely die from lack of supplies, whether it be food or water, or just old age. I mean, 1,200 light years away is far. I mean, it's really far. The idea of humans ever exploring these planets in a different constellation is that of a dream. So all in all, it seems that although majority of the world's population would die due to whatever catastrophic event were to cause us to abandon Earth in a day, those lucky enough to get into spacecrafts and fly off into the distance would ultimately die as well. There is no other inhabitable planet, at least that we know of. But depending on what the reasoning for us leaving Earth be, maybe those who escaped could return and start life again on the planet we've embraced. But that's also quite doubtful because it'd be a pretty tough task to get back to Earth without anyone advising you. So all in all, I think it's safe to say the human population would ultimately meet its untimely demise. But again, this is depending what would be the real reason for us abandoning in the first place. As a generalization though, yeah, we'd die. Simple as that. Now as always guys, I'd love to know your thoughts on this one, and I got a question for you. If this was in fact the case and you knew we were all going to die tomorrow, what would you do in your final hours? Let me know in the comments down below. I'm sure I'll see a ton of wild and different answers. Me personally, I'd probably spend it with my loved ones, but I'd also watch Super Bowl 52. Nothing like watching the Philadelphia Eagles win that Super Bowl, especially against Brady. Definitely a highlight in my life. But I want to know what you guys would do, so make sure to drop me some comments down below. Before we wrap it up, I'm going to reply to some comments from the video. What if we lost oxygen for 1 hour? Dwayne Fionar said, who's watching in 2025? Comment if you are. Wait 1 second. Hold on. Did you say 2025? Like that SpongeBob meme? Hold up. Spokesy said title, what if we lost oxygen for 1 hour? Me, GG. So when I read that, I actually laughed out loud. That's why I included it. I just thought it was really funny how you're just like, well, that's it. All right, good one, guys. Way to be. Good team effort there. Aware Bear Harry Snare said, except for eggs. I'm not really sure what that comment was. I don't know if you're saying eggs wouldn't die. I don't know. That's all you said. There's not really much context there. So I'm not really sure how to respond to that comment, but I thought it was interesting, so I included it, except for eggs. I don't know. I'm sure there's oxygen in eggs too. There's oxygen in everything, so I'm pretty sure there would be oxygen in eggs as well, right? I don't know. I really don't know what the question was, and you kind of just confused me with that one. So I'm gonna wrap this one up on that note. I've been your host, Jared Bronstein, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure to share this one with a friend if you enjoyed it. Give it a thumbs up, and as I always say, please drop us some comments down below with some questions that you guys would like to see answered on this channel. Make sure to subscribe and click that bell so you guys never miss a video, and we'll see you guys again soon.